Hello, everyone. This is Davadi News. Let's get straight to the point. What we are witnessing right now is not just a change in procedure. This is not some boring administrative maneuver in Washington. This is a direct assault on the very foundation of the United States Constitution, and it is happening right in front of us. Just days after the new Congress was sworn in, Donald Trump is making one thing very clear. He does not simply want a cabinet. He wants absolute obedience. And to get that obedience, he is demanding that the United States Senate erase its own role from the process. He wants the Senate to leave town. He wants them to go on recess so that he can unilaterally install the most extreme figures imaginable into the most powerful positions in the federal government. No votes, no hearings, no background checks, and most importantly, no approval from the representatives of the American people. If you think that sounds exaggerated, take a look at what has happened in just the last 24 hours. This is a deliberate attempt to dismantle the system of checks and balances that has existed for more than 200 years. And what makes this even more alarming is that Republican leadership in the Senate appears ready to let it happen. So what is actually going on Capitol Hill? Why is Donald Trump so fixated on what are known as recess appointments? And why is this one of the most dangerous warning signs for the term ahead? Let's break it down. For anyone who may not be familiar with the process, here is the basic constitutional framework. Under the United States Constitution, the president has the power to nominate individuals to key positions. That includes the Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, the Director of the FBI. But the president does not have the authority to appoint them unilaterally. Those nominees must go through what is known as the advice and consent of the Senate. That means public hearings, tough questioning, financial disclosures, and ultimately, a confirmation vote. This process exists for one reason: to prevent a president from installing unqualified, corrupt, or dangerous individuals into positions of national power. That process is the guardrail. And Donald Trump wants it gone. He knows the people he wants to appoint are deeply controversial. He knows they are riddled with scandals. And he knows that even Republican senators would struggle to justify voting to confirm them. So instead of changing the nominees, Trump is trying to eliminate the process. His demand is simple. He is pressuring Senate leadership to force the Senate into an extended recess. Why does that matter? Because under a legal loophole known as recess appointments, if the Senate is not in session, the president can fill positions immediately. Those appointees can serve for up to 2 years without a single confirmation vote. And here is where things escalate. Immediately after the new Congress was sworn in, Trump took to social media and applied direct public pressure. He stated that anyone seeking to become Senate Majority Leader must agree to this demand. He framed it as a prerequisite. Let that sink in. He is openly extorting his own party. He is saying, if you want power, you must promise not to do your job. You must surrender your constitutional authority and hand me a blank check. So how did Republicans respond? Instead of defending the Constitution, instead of asserting that the Senate is a co-equal branch of government, instead of saying that their responsibility is to the American people, they are racing to see who can bow the lowest. Senators who once described themselves as defenders of institutional norms are now openly endorsing this plan. Their justification is that voters elected Trump, and therefore Trump should get whatever he wants. But that is not how this works. The American people elect a president, but they also elect the Senate. And they elect the Senate specifically to oversee the president, not to function as a rubber stamp. So why is this more dangerous than it might initially appear? Look at the names Trump is trying to install. These are not conventional public servants. These are individuals with serious ethical allegations. Some are tied to extremist movements. Some have openly promoted conspiracy theories. Others lack even the most basic qualifications for the offices they seek to control. Under a normal confirmation process, these individuals would have to testify under oath. Their records would be scrutinized. The FBI would conduct thorough background checks. Any red flags would be exposed. That is exactly why Trump fears the standard process. He knows these nominees would collapse under even minimal scrutiny. Imagine an attorney general nominee facing credible allegations of misconduct, or a defense secretary nominee with no management experience but an interest in purging the military. If these individuals were forced into public hearings, the truth would be unavoidable, and Republican senators would be trapped. Vote yes and destroy their credibility. Vote no and face Trump's retaliation. So Trump's solution is to remove the choice entirely. By exploiting recess appointments, he can place these figures into the Pentagon, the Justice Department, and the intelligence agencies overnight. By the time the public wakes up, the machinery of national security would already be under their control. This sets an extraordinarily dangerous precedent. If the Senate agrees to this, it is effectively declaring itself irrelevant. It is telling the president that negotiation is unnecessary, that competence is optional, that accountability is obsolete. This is the textbook definition of authoritarian consolidation of power. The framers of the Constitution feared this exact scenario. They designed a system where no single individual could dominate all branches of government. The Senate's role in confirmations is not a suggestion. It is a constitutional mandate. Yes, recess appointments have been used in the past, but historically they were limited. They were reserved for minor roles or genuine emergencies. They were never intended as a deliberate strategy to bypass oversight and install an entire cabinet on day one. What Trump is doing is weaponizing a technical provision to destroy the spirit of the law. And this brings us to the bigger picture. Why the urgency? Why the obsession with immediate loyalty? The answer lies in Trump's broader agenda. Whether you call it Project 2025 or something else, the goal is the same. They want total control of the federal bureaucracy. They want to purge career civil servants. They want to use the Justice Department as a tool of political retaliation. They want the military involved in domestic enforcement. That cannot be accomplished with professionals who respect the law. People with integrity would refuse unlawful orders. So Trump needs loyalists, people loyal to him personally, not to the Constitution. And the final obstacle standing in the way is the United States Senate. That is why the attack begins there. If Trump breaks the Senate in the first week, there will be nothing left to restrain him for the next 4 years. This is a test of whether the Republican Party retains any institutional backbone, a test of whether democratic safeguards can still defend themselves. And so far, the warning signs are deeply troubling. Republicans are already trying to minimize the issue. They claim confirmations take too long. They argue the president needs his team immediately. Those arguments are false. Confirmations move quickly when nominees are qualified and ethical. The only reason the process slows down is when candidates cannot withstand scrutiny. This is not about efficiency. This is about power. Every senator swears an oath to defend the Constitution, not a president, not a political party. Surrendering oversight in exchange for partisan loyalty is a betrayal of that oath. So what can be done? The first step is awareness. This story cannot be allowed to fade beneath daily political noise. Who Trump appoints matters, but how he appoints them matters even more. Because once a process is broken, it will be broken again. With judges, with budgets, with war. This is not an isolated incident. It is part of a calculated campaign to place one individual above the law. From Supreme Court immunity decisions to legislative paralysis to the dismantling of confirmation authority, All roads lead to the same destination: a presidency unconstrained by law. We were warned. We talked about this during the campaign, and now it is unfolding. But it is not over. The Senate has not yet voted to recess. There are still dissenting voices, however faint. Public pressure matters. Lawmakers need to know that voters are watching, that surrendering their responsibilities will carry consequences. To conclude, what happens in Washington this week will shape the country for decades. If this precedent is established, there may be no way back. We are standing at a crossroads between a republic governed by law and a system ruled by the will of one man. Do not let political exhaustion drive you away. That is exactly what they are counting on. Democracy only fails when people stop paying attention. I will continue monitoring every move in the Senate and bring you updates as they happen. So, make sure you are subscribed, turn on notifications, and share this video so others understand what is at stake. This is Davadi News. Thank you for listening.